I want to welcome you to this session of Something More. And today I want to talk to you about a guy named Peter, Simon Peter, the apostle. I want to tell you his story because Peter went through some things that in certain ways we all go through, not in the same way as him, but I think you will probably be able to relate. And this should be a great encouragement to us, I think. Now, Peter was he was a leader. He was a step up to the plate. He was a doer, get it done kind of guy. He was the he was the one who stepped out of the boat to walk on the water to Jesus. The other guys didn't do that, but Peter did. He was bold. He was a leader. But Peter failed rather badly. He failed his own expectations of himself. He failed his friend in the worst possible way. He failed the Lord. And basically, he felt that very deeply because, we all have expectations of ourselves. We all want to perform in a certain way. And sometimes we just go through things, we look at ourselves and say, well, you really screwed up. Well, Peter did that, and I'm sure we have done that. And what is God's attitude when that happens? So let me take you through the details of this story of Peter. Jesus is telling his disciples here towards the end of his ministry that he's alluding to the fact that he will be arrested and crucified. And he tells them that you will all be scattered and you will run away and forsake me. And well, Peter, he jumps up and says, I don't care if everyone falls away. I will not forsake you. Even if it means I will go to my death, I will stand by you. And you know what? Peter meant that. I guarantee you, he thought that he could do it. But of course, Jesus, knowing things, looked at him and he said, Peter, before that day, this day is over, you will deny me 3 times. And he wasn't saying it in the way of, yeah, Peter, you're a big talker and you say you're going to stand up and stand by me, but you dirty dog, you're going to just turn away and deny me. That wasn't the attitude with which Jesus said that. He knew some things. He knew that Peter had not yet received the resources that he would receive a little later, that would enable him to take that kind of stand. He knew that Jesus had not yet done for him and in him all that he had planned, and so Peter was in a condition that he could not carry through on his very heartfelt intentions. And we have heartfelt intentions sometimes that come up short. So anyway, Jesus is crucified. Everybody's distraught. Nobody understands that this was supposed to happen. No one really understands that in 3 days he will be raised from the dead. Even though he told them about it, it didn't make sense and they didn't get the message. But he's raised from the dead and he appears to his disciples and to others on a number of occasions. And everybody's thrilled. Everybody's happy. It's just a great day. But Peter is processing things and he's thinking about stuff. And one day he says to his cohorts, some of the other apostles, many of them he knew before he became an apostle and before he was called to follow Jesus. And he said to them, I'm going fishing. Now, I live in a state that's filled with lakes and a lot of fishermen. When we say we're going fishing, it means we're going to go have some recreation. We're going to do something fun. We're going to get away from work and do something that we enjoy. But when Peter said that, it wasn't anything like that. This is what Peter's career was before. This is what his work was. And what he was saying is, I'm going back to my old career. I'm going back to fishing. Peter thought about it and realized that he had failed the Lord so badly. He not only ran away, he actually didn't run away, but when they came to him and said, you were with Jesus, He not only denied it, he actually denied that he even knew him. So he's thinking about all this and realizing that he's failed so badly that he felt there's surely no place for him with Jesus and with this great plan and with these apostles. And he was sure that he could not use him anymore, that Jesus would no longer want him. And I say that because of what Jesus had to say to Peter shortly thereafter. And we want to look at Jesus' response. The guys are out fishing with their nets, and they caught quite a catch of fish. But Jesus is shown up on the shore there, and he's actually got some fish on the fire for them. And when they get to shore, Jesus begins to talk to Peter. And he asked him a question. 3 times he says, "Peter, do you love me?" Now, you know, Peter had denied Jesus 3 times. And some preachers suggested that Jesus intentionally made him confess his love for him 3 times, kind of to rub his nose in his failure, kind of stick that knife in and twist it and, make him suffer. But I want to tell you that was not Jesus' spirit at all, and that's not the way God does us if we stumble, fail, if we come up short. Because each time Jesus asked Peter, "Do you love me?" he said to Peter, "I want you to feed my sheep." It's as if Jesus was putting his arm around him and saying, "Peter, you're still my man. There's a second chance. I still want you to be a part of my great plan." And you might think, well, why do you have to say it 3 times? Well, when you feel as low as Peter was feeling and you look at yourself, and we're all hard on ourselves, and sometimes rightly so, but when you're feeling that low and somebody puts their arm around you and tells you it's okay and things will be better, you kind of go, yeah, but you don't really believe it. You figure, well, they're just trying to make me feel better about things. And sometimes you need to hear it more than once. And Peter needed to hear it 3 times. Jesus didn't say anything that didn't need to be said, and he didn't say it except at a time that it needed to be said. And this was the time that Peter needed to hear that he still had a place. Jesus still had a place for him. And he needed to hear and have that reinforced 3 times. Jesus wasn't saying, "You're such a pathetic person." He just knew that Peter wasn't yet equipped. And he was going to give Peter an increased power and equipping spiritually. And that happened on a day they called the day of Pentecost. They were all together praying and waiting as Jesus told them to. He said, "Wait for the gift my Father promised. And on that day you will receive a power as well as a presence." And so there was such a change in Peter from before this time of Pentecost till after. Before he sometimes, and he did, cower in fear. But afterwards, he was bold and strong. And here's how an old writer named Samuel Chadwick kind of contrasts what happened with Peter. He says the story of Pentecost revealed what that gift did for the individual men as well as for the whole group. He says Peter now moves in the blaze of the sun. Throughout the gospel narrative, he is a man of generous impulses with many failings. He utters his resolve with the emphasis of the irresolute and often fails in the hour of testing. Pentecost reveals him transformed. He has the certainty of revealed truth in his speech and the confidence of invincible power in his bearing. The man who cringed and sulked a few days before stands now on both feet, utterly destitute of fear. Temperament and natural aptitude are unchanged, but the man is radiant with a new energy, transfigured with a new spirit, effective with a new power. The Spirit of Christ has clothed himself with Peter. He speaks the same Galilean accent, but the utterance is of the Holy Spirit. And this transformation that happened at Pentecost, this was God's plan for everyone. You could easily say, well, Peter, he's going to be an apostle. He's going to be a big ministry guy. He's going to do big things. He needs it. But the truth is, we all need this spiritual empowerment and strengthening in our being, because everything in our life is affected by what's in here on the inside of us. The most mundane things we do every day, we need that same empowerment to do it in a way that makes it effective and useful. And I want to tell you a story to that end. There was, and I'm telling this from memory, and I remember a lot of it pretty well, but there was a gentleman who was in a group where this kind of thing was being taught in a very detailed way about, this thing that God does that happened as a result of Pentecost to the disciples and the apostles and others. And he finally raises his hand and says, well, why can't I receive that right now? And they said, well, you surely can. We can pray. We can ask God. We can ask him to do this in you right now. And so they prayed that prayer and did that. And then he went back to work. He happened to work for a major defense contractor. So he goes back to work. And a few months later, one of the higher-ups calls him into the office. And he says, we have this project and we need someone to do it. And I don't remember exactly what that was or whatever details I knew, but he said, we've got several men that can do the job, but he said, we've been watching you and something changed in you. You were different. And they named the time, the date. They said, ever since that time, you have been different. And we realize you're the man we need to lead this project. And that wasn't anything to do with ministry. But it just illustrates how when God equips us inside and does what he did for Peter, it makes everything different. Even the simplest things we do now are endued with a power and a presence that is way beyond us. And it changes those things. And it's what's missing. It's what we all need, whether we're changing the baby's diapers, waiting on tables, doing the most mundane things. When we are equipped in here and changed, it changes everything we do. And it makes it more of the way we want it to be, more useful, beneficial, more effective. And so this is a promise for all of us. And if you feel like you're inadequate, well, we're all inadequate until God comes and gives us this special equipping, this special adequacy. And so I want you to be encouraged to know that God can do this, that he is more than willing. When we ask, when we seek with real determination, he can do this in us. And this makes all the difference in our everyday lives even. And anyway, that's what I wanted to say today, and I don't want to ramble on much. I've rambled on enough. Wish you a great day. Encouragement in the Lord. Be encouraged. Whatever it's been like for you, whatever's happened, the Lord's there to put his arm around you and say, hey, we've got something that can really help you. And he does not put us down when we've come up short, because that's just his unconditional love. So I want to wish you God's blessings, a great rest of your day until we talk again. Thank you.